Political reacts. What's going on, everybody? We're back at it again. I want to first say thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my small channel. We're growing over here little by little, and I thank you for the support for those of you that have subscribed. We got to get into this now. There's a lot of things going on in Minnesota, Minneapolis. You've got one, as we already know, ICE took the life of Renee Good, which was horrible, but then ever since this situation happened where she lost her life, and you have the president who demonized her, the vice president, J.D. Vance, demonizing her along with Trump. You've had Kristi Noem demonizing her, who's supposed to be in charge of Homeland Security. Everything is escalating. You would think that it would be de-escalating. Everything is escalating further as ICE is continuing to, in my opinion, storm this community in a way that is reminiscent to living in a police state. Now, we are in a police state, literally, with ICE running around the way they are. They already stopped a kid in Minneapolis who was on his way home. He had snacks in his hand. They stopped him, asked him for all kind of paperwork, as if little kids would have all this paperwork. Took him in when he said, hey, I just want to go home. They used a 5-year-old child as bait, claiming that his father was evading them, but they used the child as bait. That's what the ICE agents are saying, okay? On top of the fact of what they did with Miss Goods, who you see right there. I'm going to examine this and go a little bit deep with this video today. Another area that we're going to touch on is, believe it or not, remember that doctor who wanted to help Renee Goods? Remember that there was a doctor who said, hey, I'm a doctor, I can help. And you had the ICE agents that told him to get away. Oh, we got it, but there were no techs that came to help. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about right now.
Can I go check a pulse?
No, back up now.
I'm a physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they?
They said they have their own medics, but unfortunately, there were no medics that showed up. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. There were no medics. Remember, they blocked off the whole street so the ambulance couldn't even get in there. They literally were picking her up and bringing her down the street for the ambulance to the paramedics to get to her. They had no one amongst their staff. It's almost as if they wanted this woman to die. The doctor is offering to help, but wait until I tell you the blockbuster behind this whole thing. Let me move this back and continue.
Physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming, and I get it. Just give us a second. We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they?
Yeah, where are they?
How can I relax? You just killed my fucking neighbor. You caught butter
It's a
in
damn
the fucking face. You killed my fucking neighbor. How do you show up to work every day? How the fuck do you do this every day? You're killing my neighbors. You're stealing my neighbors. What the fuck, man?
I want to get into this right now. Not only are we hearing about the ICE agent, or this is Stockvo, this ICE goon squad, not only are we hearing about them harassing children, not only did they get in the way of Renee Good life possibly being saved because they did an autopsy report. And the autopsy report shows that she could have been saved. On top of the fact that ICE is also profiling off-duty police in the Minnesota area, as you have already heard through the news. I'm going to touch on that in this video, show you some videos about that. We're going to critique that. But now, let me show you what the medical establishment in Minnesota had to say about this. The fact that she could have been saved. The doctor there said, I'm a doctor. Let me check her post. They refused, and they didn't have their own medical there like they claimed in terms of their own medical personnel that work for ICE. Here is what a doctor had to say with other medical personnel behind him, talking about how it is a doctor's job to follow their Hippocratic oath, right? Doctors have an oath that they must follow to do no harm. And check this out. This is embarrassing.
I learned for the first time through an NPR story that Renee Good still had a pulse 8 minutes after she was shot by an ICE agent. And yet the offer to administer aid from a physician on the scene following his Hippocratic oath was denied. I can't say how much that stirs the blood of everyone behind me here as we try to fulfill our obligation, our oath, and our duty to care for the people of Minnesota. And I believe it stirs the blood of every patriotic Minnesota who knows how we treat each other in this state. So that is what we are here to speak to today as healthcare professionals.
So there it is. There is the damning evidence that doing an autopsy report, I think the PBS, some type of special, came to the conclusion that they could have saved her life had it not been for the bullshit that ICE was doing. You heard the doctor, very clear, very concise, tell you that he wanted to check her pulse, and they would not let him do anything.
Can I go check a pulse?
No, back up now.
I'm a physician.
Hey, listen, we understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second.
That is damning evidence, especially when her family goes into court and sues the federal government. Everybody should be sued involved in this situation. Now, I'm going to talk about the children that they manipulated, that they're using. I mean, they're snatching up kids. They're going door to door. There was already a gentleman in Minnesota or Minneapolis who they took out of his house with only his drawers on, threw a blanket on him. Come to find out, the man is a citizen. They went after Native American people. If anybody deserves to be here more than anybody, it would be Native American people. If anybody deserves not to have to show any ID, is Native American people who are part of a sovereign nation that is recognized by the United States government, but I don't know if they're recognized under this Trump Nazi administration. Let's go to the first video. This is the video with the news breaking the story down. And then I'm going to go to the video with the police officer out there in the Minnesota area talking about how this is not professional. But let's go ahead and let you see this little piece right here. And let me go right here and pop this on for you right here. Check it out.
Law enforcement leaders express frustration with the federal agents in our area.
They say local officers have been racially profiled by those agents since Operation Metro Surge began. Fox 9's Cory Hoggard is live at the Capitol. And Cory, what are those local leaders doing about it?
Well, Kelsey and Randy, they're not talking about going out and arresting federal agents. What they're trying to do is get a message through to the leadership at federal law enforcement agencies. But
this is a problem right here. They don't want to go after these ICE goons and arrest them for profiling, meaning they are going by race. They don't want to arrest them, but they want to send a message. No, the way you send a damn message is that you arrest these ICE goons. I want to put this up here real quick. These are examples of these ICE goons. These are the example of ICE goons right here. And I'm going to do a comparison and contrast to these white nationalist groups like the Oath Keepers. Oh, I'm going to get in that. Give me 1 minute and get back to this.
they're telling us they're hitting a brick wall. Ali Dahar is one of more than a dozen Minnesotans who filed reports in court saying federal agents stopped them based only on their appearance and forced them to prove citizenship.
My passport. I give my ID, I give my passport ID, everything.
Now, law enforcement leaders from several agencies say their own officers have experienced what they believe was racial profiling while off duty and out of uniform. For example, a Brooklyn Park officer told her chief ICE agents boxed her in, demanded citizenship paperwork, knocked the phone out of her hand when she tried to record them, and pulled a gun on her before things calmed down when she...
You hear that? They already took the life of Renee Good. I'm going to put her picture back up here like so. They already took the life of Renee Good. And now they're already pulling out another gun on someone of color. They're saying a person of color who is an off-duty police officer. And they said that the police out there, the local police, are having no results in trying to connect with this ICE goon agency. But why would they? I'm going to show you some reasons why these ICE goons wouldn't give a damn anyway.
Identified herself as a police officer. Chief Mark Bruley says the complaints escalated quickly 2 weeks ago when the search force multiplied.
This is not widespread. This is a small group of agents within the surge in the metro area that are performing or acting this way.
I disagree with this not being widespread. No. But we'll get into that later.
These chiefs and Hennepin County Sheriff DeWanna Witt did not want to call out fellow law enforcement, but they say the unconstitutional actions by federal agents are staining them too.
We cannot let people in our communities think that our local law enforcement leadership is okay with the actions that we simply know are not just only wrong, but illegal.
But they say accountability would be best served by federal leadership and the courts. In cases like the racial profiling lawsuit filed last week by the ACLU, where Dahar is one of the plaintiffs.
And those lawsuits are appropriate, and the courtroom where those are discussed, that's appropriate as well. But as far as like the mechanism for us to investigate those on a state side, it's just not there.
What?
And Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino said this afternoon that everything they do is legal, ethical, and moral. Now, there have been quite a few federal judges who have disagreed with that statement, but when it comes to racial profiling in 2 other states, the Supreme Court has sided with the Border Patrol.
I have a problem with what the last statement that gentleman said about when it comes to the state, they can't do further charging. You've got these ICE goons out there in Minnesota area who are using children as bait, taking children under their custody when a child is simply going home, asking them for papers. Please, let me give y'all a little bit of history here. As a black person, a black man living in America, knowing the history of my people, people forget that there was a time in this country that if you were a black person traveling through the South, living in this country, you had to show your papers. At that time, it was papers to show that you were a free black person. And if you got caught without papers, they could put you back into slavery, take you back to the plantation. Matter of fact, you would have plantation owners that would send bounty hunters up north to snatch black people who went to the north for freedom. There was a time that you had to have certain paperwork to be able to walk into in certain areas if you were a black person working domestically. Even in South Africa, they had the same type of system where you had, this is reminiscent to all those things that happened in the past. They're messing with children. They're messing with Native Americans. They're pulling out weapons on off-duty cops. They've already taken the life of Miss Good, as we already know. I'm emphasizing that because they're out of control. I'm also going to show you Cory, I think Senator Cory Booker, where he bumbles his mouth around talking about, oh, they need more. I don't want to hear anybody talking about that these ICE agents need more training. The man who took Renee Good's life, this Jonathan Ross, come to find out, and shout out to iHip News, the ladies over there, because they've been putting it down about this. This individual that you see right here didn't need any training. He was the one that trained the ICE agents. this man had years and years in the agency. He was the one that taught them on gun safety, weapon safety. How do you use your weapons? When do you use them? All the proper protocols that he himself, Jonathan Ross, did not follow. So this whole thing about they need training, dismiss me on that. This man was well experienced in the ICE agencies or agency. The reason why they can't fix this problem because the individuals that have signed up to join ICE are white nationalist groups, your Oath Keepers, your Proud Boys, your Boogaloo Boys, all the individuals that Donald Trump gave a pardon to that joined ICE, gave them 47 days because he's the 47th president, 47 days of training. This man you see right here had more training than that and still made the mistakes that you're going to hear Cory Booker saying in a video that I'm going to play for you, how they need more training. No, they need to get rid of the whole lot of these individuals. A lot of these individuals joined and are unqualified from the get-go, but they like what they're doing because they are white nationalists and they're doing the bidding of Donald J. Punk-ass Trump. He's the one that told them when he was in that debate with Joe Biden, Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, stand down until further instructions. And they got their instructions. They're now part of ICE. Now I want to play the other video that's more detailed where you have the police sheriff or the police in charge out here giving you his point of view. I'm going to disagree with some things, but bear with that because disagreement is necessary when you know they're saying something that you don't agree with, that you know is wrong. Here we go.
Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement.
Now he has to say that so that he can come off as if he's still down with the blue line, that he's still down with his blue brethren. Okay, he has to say that. But let's be fair here and here's some more.
The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents. And we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we as law enforcement community have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from US citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally.
Right.
As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them.
Now, that is very important. Because some would say out there that, oh, ICE is just going after people that are the criminals, that are here illegally and they're criminals. And now they've gone from going after people that they claim are illegals, that are criminals, to now they're picking with American citizens. They're sitting up there picking with kids. They're grabbing kids off the streets.
In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a US citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers.
Well, then let me stop it right there. You made a statement. He's going to make a statement, and you heard it on the other report that I played, where he says, oh, it's only a small number. But then you just said that your other officers who are the chiefs of their departments around this community have the same reports with their officers who have a paint job like me. Which is it, sir?
This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this.
Well, wait a minute, sir. People have already been saying this. When the police do these things to citizens, citizens say, hey, you're profiling, you're doing this. And now when when one of your own gets this experience, now you're talking about, oh, you can only imagine what's happening to citizens. Same thing that citizens have said over the years when citizens have also been harassed by local police officers. Let's get back.
Every day. It has to stop. This behavior erodes the trust that these police chiefs have worked tirelessly for the last 5 years and theoretically the last 60 years to stop this exact behavior from happening. Now, I want to be really clear. I've called lots of other ICE agents and HSI agents and have talked to a lot of individuals about this. This is not widespread.
See, this is where I disagree with him. He says it's not widespread. Yes, it is, because it's not only happening to your officers, because you said there's other law enforcement leaders there who have made the same reports, but it's also happening to your citizens that you say that you care about, sir. For example, let me move on from this and show you guys something very shocking, very embarrassing that this orange man has been employing in Minnesota. He's targeting blue states. You don't see him having ICE running around in the South like this, at least not yet, but you don't see it because he's going after the states that he know could put his ass out of power if they were to take over those seats. So he's trying to mess around and scare and use fear and use his goons to do dirty work. And they're doing it for this demented individual, Donald Trump, or Trump, or Dump. Once again, all of this is a byproduct of Jonathan Ross, who had years of experience. So this whole ideology that people are putting out there about, oh, maybe the cops maybe the ICE agents just need more training. No, you got the wrong individuals. This isn't about training. This is about character. Jonathan Ross didn't have character when he shot the fatal third shot, which is what ultimately did Miss Good in from the very get-go. Now, let me show you what's going on as well. This is the sad part that the officer didn't mention. They're messing with little kids. Right here. Minnesota school officials say ICE used a 5-year-old as bait to make an arrest. Here's what we know. Well, let me put a piece of the article up, and here we go. So, school officials have, in fact, accused ICE of using a 5-year-old Ramos. I'll go with that. I can make out that last name, Ramos, as bait to lure people out of the boy's home. The Department of Homeland Security, which is overseeing ICE, has deployed a claim instead of alleging that the father, Alexander, fled from arrest, thus abandoning his child. So they're basically saying the dispute, it's a disputed claim right now, y'all. A disputed claim. What you have basically in a nutshell is that they used his son as bait because they're saying that he fled. That's their story, that he was fleeing. And as a result, they know that, hey, he's a father. He loves his son. So we're going to lure the father out by using the child. This is what's going on in America. Now, I also picked up a clip from, this was on Kamala Harris, her Twitter page or X page. And here we go. Ramos is just a baby. He should be at home with his father, not used as bait by ICE and held in a Texas detention center. I am outraged, and you should be too. So right now, the young man is in a detention center. This is what's going on. This is how ICE is conducting themselves out in the field. But it doesn't stop there, everybody. Look at what they're also doing right here. Check this out. This is also in Minneapolis or Minnesota. Here we go. Check this out. Kids don't carry ID. This is James. This guy, this is a gentleman from Twitter. Says kids don't carry IDs, let alone proof of citizenship. And the ICE agent had no reason to suspect that, to be suspicious, that made them stop this kid legally. It's just constitutionally and legally a violation all the way down, and none of these guys will ever pay a price for it, which is why they're always wearing these masks like this. They're wearing the mask because they know what they're doing is wrong. They're wearing the mask because they don't want to be identified. They're wearing the mask so that they can be intimidating. You have local police on the street. Local police on the street who don't wear masks like this right here. Look. Why is this necessary when the local police don't wear masks like this and they show themselves when they arrest you? You don't even have FBI agents wearing these masks. But the ICE Gestapo, the ICE goons are wearing masks. But they're doing what they're, I'm going to tell you why they're really doing what they are doing. That is so wrong in so many damn ways. You see, ICE doesn't care about what they're doing because in their mind, they have their Sith Lord, Donald J. Trump. They figure if Donald Trump's president, he'll give us immunity. So even if we get prosecuted, we get dragged into court, Donald Trump will give us ultimate immunity to do our job. So they feel very emboldened because of this weirdo in the White House that you see right there. This weirdo right here. Let me put this up right here. This weirdo right here that you see having a Trump Bible in one hand and the Epstein files in the other that he's blacked out. And they're really doing this right now as I speak. They don't feel any fear because they feel that Daddy Sith Lord Trump will bail them out of their indiscretions. I'm going to give you another reason why they're also harassing people, because the character, this is why training won't mean a damn if you have the wrong character. Now, I'm going to show you a series of pictures, some that I've already shown you, and I want to see if you can make out whether they're ICE or whether they're the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, the Oaths Keepers, and many of the other white nationalist groups. For example, here is a picture of ICE. I've showed this picture already, right? These guys are ICE agents. Here's another ICE agent who's putting his hands up, as I showed you already, in the face of someone. because he doesn't want them to, he wants to put his hands in their camera. That's an ICE agent. But what they really are is that they're members of these Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, all these sort of nationalist groups. For example, check this out. What's the difference between what you just seen? What's the difference between this picture right here and this picture? Remember I said these are ICE agents? Well, check this out. Do these look like ICE agents? What these really are, this is January 6th. These are the guys that Donald Trump let loose back on the streets that have joined ICE under their 47 days to become an ICE agent, get a bonus payment of money. Not to mention, they don't even have to pass the physical that normally that they would have to do. These are individuals from the January 6th insurrection that broke into the Capitol, shitted all over the place, caused all sort of problems. This is what you see right here. Do you see? You can even see where they got Oath Keepers badges on their military-like uniform. What's the difference between that and these guys here? Let me show you some more pictures of these. Here's another picture of these gang members. Once again, Oath Keepers, they got the Make America hat on, right? What's the difference between them and this guy right here who's an ICE agent? There is no difference. That's the point. There it is. Here go the ICE agent again, right? Here go the white nationalist groups. Boom. What's the difference? There's no difference. You know why there's no difference? Because they're one in the same. These guys, you don't see, and let me put myself back up here. This is very important what I'm breaking down to you. You see, there is no difference because these individuals are the same individuals that have joined ICE. So they have this attitude that people of a certain skin tone shouldn't be here. And they're willing to mess with black people, Latino people, anybody who doesn't fit their ideology. These are the individuals that were in prison. Trump gave them a pardon, and he's giving them jobs where they're making good money, maybe more money than most of us. And then you have to ask yourself, why is it that you don't see the Oath Keepers marching on the streets anymore? Why is it that you don't see the Boogaloo Boys marching on the streets, or you don't see any of these guys anymore? Because they're wearing, I'm going to put this up again, they're wearing an ICE uniform, the same uniform that they were wearing on January 6th. Just no difference. That's January 6th. This is an ICE uniform. You can't tell the difference because they're one and the same. That's why you don't see them marching around in the streets saying you won't replace us and blood and soil and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to say it again, blood and soil and all that kind of stuff, because they got jobs now. They're being paid to harass. They're being paid to scare people. They're being paid to push their supremacy in our society by Donald Trump. This is a fact. I'm going to show you more evidence of what I'm talking about. This is a guy, I think he's Somalian. He was in the parking lot of the airport, I believe. You've probably seen this video. It's gone viral. He was minding his own business. He works for Uber. So he was there waiting for his next customers, you know, that will ring, that will come on his phone. And this man, by the way, has an engineering degree, actually. And ICE agents are asking him for identification. They're harassing him. He ended up getting rid of him, but I want y'all to check this out.
What the hell would I show random people my ID? You want to steal my identity? Where's your ID? Let me check if you're a U.S. citizen. How about that? Hey, you guys better move on, man. Look at this motherfucker. A4. What kind of name is that? Alcohol 4? What's your initial? Right here. It ain't over there. Why would I answer you? Why would I not be a citizen of this country, man? Are you a citizen? Why are you getting close? I can hear you. You can stand there.
The question is, why do you need these many ICE officers to surround a black man, a Somali, in his car, minding his own business? He is actually legally here, working, actually has more education than them because it turns out he has an engineering degree. He stood his ground. They didn't drag him down to the ground. They didn't arrest him, but they could have done harm to him. But he held his own in this situation. I'm going to play a little bit more before I give you the clip by Cory Booker.
How come she got a GoPro and you got your a police issued body cam? What's going on with you guys?
Why do I have
what kind of shit is this? Dude, listen, I'm here working. You're working too, right?
See?
So go. It says U.S. Border Patrol. This is not the border.
Right.
Is it Canada border or the Mexico border?
If you were from
I'm
this
working,
country,
dude.
If you were from this country,
What do you mean? What do you mean if I'm from this country?
I can hear you don't have the same accent as me. That's why I'm.
Oh, so you're going by accents now?
I want to know
Is
where
that
you were
what it
born.
is?
Where were you?
Boom. Let's stop it right there. This is what they're doing. They're profiling. They're engaging in racism. I've already showed you the comparison and contrast between them, that they are the same as the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, and the Opes Keepers. They just said, we think that you're not a citizen because you got an accent. So if you got an accent, and there's a lot of people in this country who have accents, Southern accents, European accents, Spanish accents, whatever kind of accent. But because he has an accent, automatically they assumed. That's straight up profiling. And that ain't training. That's the character of the individuals that are in those uniforms. It ain't about training. It's about they got the wrong demon type individuals working in this outfit. Let's continue.
Is that accent? Have you heard the Israeli accent? Have you heard the European accent?
You just
it's
proved
garbage.
my point. You're a brilliant
It's
man.
retarded,
You just proved my point.
You
You're
go
a
by
brilliant
accents?
man. You just proved other countries.
You guys want to argue? I got time. I got time today.
You're not arguing. You're proving my point.
Today, man.
Thank you, sir.
You guys do whatever you want to do.
Sir.
I'm not going to show you. I don't have.
Woo! You see the BS, the bullshit? That's what's going on in the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the streets of America. These ICE agents, if you can call them, I don't call them, they're goons. They're out of control. They're profiling people. They're stereotyping people. They're even using kids as bait, as I showed you, or I brought up an article about it. They're harassing people, and they got problems. Now, I'm going to play Cory Booker, because Cory Booker, as a politician will do, is playing the whole, well, it's about training. No, Cory, I played everything to prove that what Cory's going to tell you is a bunch of hogwash. This is not about training. This is about, you got poor character in these individuals. They should root out all of it. It's rotten. Start from the very beginning. And let's go with Cory.
We must do more. The tragic death of Renee Good has brought into clear spotlight so many of the things the Trump administration is doing to make our communities less safe. But one of the most alarming crises are issues of training and accountability standards for ICE officers. The Trump administration has cut the training down from 5 months to about a month and a half. They have eliminated age requirements and are hiring recruits as young as 18 years old. They're putting people into training before their background checks are even complete. And so
now, I agree with Cory Booker here that background checks have to be completed properly, but they're not doing that because Trump wants, he's hiring these white nationalists or those that are sympathizers to it. He's hiring people who have bad character. When you lower the requirements, anybody and their mama can get in. But I still stand 10 toes down that this is not all about just training. It's about the character of the men and women that are joining this outfit. He's recruiting people who have no character, despite what training you give them. Because, as I said before, Jonathan Ross, a veteran of this ICE crap, was a trainer, and you saw what he did to Renee Goods. Let's not play around here. We got to tell the truth. Let's continue.
when you see people cut corners, people die. I'm continuing to lead new legislation that will bring further high professional standards and accountability to ICE officials. We must also set minimum training standards. We must ban the hiring of anyone affiliated with hate groups.
No,
We
I
must
agree with
hold
that.
Agency
Now,
leaders
Cory,
accountable. We must require every federal officer to wear a body-worn camera during
Now, Cory is right about that. You can't have them hiring Boogaloo Boys and Proud Boys and all these individual groups that be talking that blood and soil crap. You can't have him. Now, I do agree with him. He got a point there. I got to be fair to Cory Booker.
Public-facing enforcement actions and require that footage be preserved so that the truth can't be hidden or destroyed. What Donald Trump is doing is undercutting the strength of our law enforcement. He is diminishing and diluting standards. He is taking actions that are wholly unacceptable to the safety of our nation.
There it is, everybody. I've done the best I could to lay out my argument to this whole situation. I think it's terrible that you have off-duty police that were profiled racially. I think it's even more horrible that they're using children as bait against their parents. I think it's horrible that the young man that I just put a picture of, they arrested and they have him in a detention center. He was just walking home, had candy or some kind of snacks in his hand. This is terrible. And children don't walk around with paperwork that proves that they're a citizen. Renee, everything has not de-escalated since Miss Good had her life taken away. I also presented to you that Miss Good also is a victim of a victim who is a victim that possibly could have been saved had they allowed the doctor to help her. And as a result, we have this.
I learned for the first time through an NPR story that Renee Good still had a pulse 8 minutes after she was shot by an ICE agent. And yet the offer to administer aid from a physician on the scene following his Hippocratic oath was denied. I can't.
It's a damn shame. Now, I've told you that I've broken it down as best I can. Do me the biggest favor if you could, because I would appreciate it. And that is, I want to say to you all, thank you for watching this video. I want you to make a comment in the comment section of this video, share and subscribe to this channel, share the video on social media, subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Those of you who have subscribed so far, it's a new channel. I'm trying to build up the numbers over here, but I appreciate all of you out there. And once again, this is Political Reacts.